functions that go from the decision or the processing of individual complaints to the issuing of precautionary measures, but also functions of promotion, advisory functions, advising states, and the Organization of American States. The OAS is composed by 35 member states, of which the Commission has jurisdiction over all of them, given the Charter of the Organization of American States. However, only 20 of those 35 states have recognized or accepted the jurisdiction of the Inter-American Court. So the scope of our mandate at the Court is reduced in comparison to the Commission. The three main functions of the Court are the contentions function, so deciding individual cases, provisional measure, so the issuing of provisional measures to protect rights, and an advisory function. I'll talk about all of them in a minute. In terms of the contentious function, we need to note that the first step for a victim is to submit a case to the Inter-American Commission. Any person, any organization, and also member states can submit cases to the Inter-American Commission. There's no limit on that. There are no fees for victims in the Inter-American system, and the petitions or communications can be filed in any of the 4 official languages, so English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. The requirements, the specific requirements for acceptance or admissibility of a petition are that the victim has exhausted local remedies, so different from the African mechanisms that spoke before me. There's that requirement is explicit. There are exceptions to that rule, but the rule is the exhaustion of domestic remedies. A deadline of 6 months after the notification of a final judgment domestically. The subject of the petition or the communication cannot be pending before another international proceeding for settlement. And a few formal requirements such as the name, nationality, profession, domicile of the petitioner. All communications can be sent electronically. The only requirement is that they're signed. If they're not signed, there's a deadline of 21 days for the submission of the paper copy to either the Commission or the Court. Once the Commission has seen the case, gone through the case, and they have they issue an admissibility report, and later on a merits report, the Commission issues a merits report with recommendations to the concerned state. The state is given a few months to comply with that report, and if they don't do, then only then the Commission can submit the case to the Court in case of a lack of implementation of those recommendations. Remember that only those 20 states that have accepted the jurisdiction of the Court can then defend themselves before the Court. It's important here to note that both the Inter-American Commission and the Inter-American Court are not permanent bodies. So that means that the 7 commissioners and the 7 judges of the Court only go to the headquarters of those bodies every 2 months during periods of sessions. We have permanent secretariats based in Washington for the Inter-American Commission and in San Jose, Costa Rica, for the Court, who work full-time, but the judges come only every 2 months, roughly. Next year, the number of sessions will increase to 14 weeks per year, and will be in sessions more or less every month. The mandates of the judges of the Inter-American Court last for 6 years, and they can be renewed once. They go through election before the General Assembly of the OAS, the Organization of American States, and the mandates of the commissioners of the Inter-American Commission last for 4 years, and they can also be renewed only once. Just to give you an idea of the volume of cases that we receive in the Inter-American system, in 2016 the Commission received 2,560 petitions, but only 16 cases were then forwarded to the court. So there's a massive difference in the volume of work between the two bodies. Also, moving on to the second function, the issuing of provisional measures, there's also a big difference in the volume of requests received by the Commission, around 1,000 per year, and the number of requests then submitted to the Inter-American Court. Provisional measures are a very important tool available to the court. It's something that is foreseen in the American Convention on Human Rights, Article 63(2) of the Convention, and it's aimed at protecting rights in cases of extreme gravity and urgency when necessary to avoid irreparable damage to persons. Provisional measures are used mainly to protect the rights to personal integrity and the right to life, even though they have been used in order to protect other rights exceptionally. Nowadays, we have 22 provisional measures in place, referring mainly to human rights defenders or activists or communities under threat, and detention centers or places of deprivation of liberty in which prison conditions and violence affected these rights and warranted the issuing of provisional measures. Now, there's a difference here. I mentioned that access to the Inter-American system first needs to go through the Inter-American Commission. That's the case for contentious cases. There's a slight difference when referring to provisional measures, because even though the Inter-American Commission can submit requests for provisional measures, in cases that are already before the Inter-American Court, then the victims have, or alleged victims have, direct access to the court. They can submit requests for a provisional measure if the case is pending. Not a particularity is that both the Commission and the Court can issue provisional measures, or precautionary measures as they are called at the Commission, motu proprio, ex officio. If they consider that the situation requires international protection, even without a formal request by a petitioner or a victim, they can, these bodies can issue protection measures on their behalf. Now, the advisory function, this is, has been used since the start of the court. The court was set up in 1979, was created by the American Convention that was approved in 1969. It took 78 actually, so 9 years for the court to become effective. So it was set up in 1978. So next year we celebrate 40 years of the foundation of the Inter-American Court, and the first 7 years were dedicated to the issuing of advisory opinions, and the first case was only decided in 1987. The advisory function of the court is reserved for member states or bodies of the Organization of American States who can request the court for interpretation of the American Convention or other human rights treaties that they have ratified. Also, member states can request an assessment of on the compatibility of the domestic laws with human rights treaties. So far, the court has issued 22 advisory opinions in its history. 2 opinions are about to be notified. They have been decided in the last period of sessions of the court that ended 2 weeks ago. one about big, large infrastructure projects and their effect on communities, and the second advisory opinion on the rights of transsexual persons to change their name and the compatibility of a law in Costa Rica to that effect. There are two more advisory opinions pending. One on the right to asylum requested by the state of Ecuador, and the last one on judicial guarantees applicable to political judgments or impeachment procedures of presidents or high officials. A few points of notice, perhaps, that I'd like to point your attention to are the fact that the few developments that have taken place in the last 7 years. First of them is an improvement in the accessibility, access to the court and the commission by victims. In 2010, an agreement was signed by the commission and by the court with the Inter-American Association of Public Defenders. With that agreement, in cases where the victims don't have representation or they need support to take a case before the commission or the court, the Inter-American Public Defenders Association will provide a public defender to represent these persons before the Inter-American system. That was a very positive measure, and they have facilitated access, especially to people who, as Mr. Okubo mentioned earlier, are not familiar with the procedure, don't know how an international body works. The second measure that was also started in 2010 is the Inter-American Legal Assistance Fund. This is a fund, there are two funds, one managed by the Inter-American Commission and the second one managed by the Inter-American Court, to help victims in their litigation before the Inter-American system. So if they demonstrate that they don't have the means to sustain or to cover the costs of the litigation before one of these bodies, the court can pay certain types of costs, such as traveling and the presence during a public hearing, the production of evidence, declarations or statements, affidavits, and the traveling of expert witnesses or even the alleged victims, both to the commission and to the court, so that they can give their statements. And the last, perhaps, development that really started around 2014 is the use of Article 58 of the court's rules of procedure about evidence. So the rules of procedure of the court allow the court to request information from any party that's part of the case, but any national body, any organization, any person can provide information to the court. But it also allows the court to travel to the concerned country and carry out either a public hearing or an in situ visit to collect information. And in the last 3 or 4 years, the court has been used this faculty more and more, and it has visited now several countries in order to collect evidence to be used both in contentious cases, so before the issuing a judgment, but also in provisional measures, where there was quite a large contention between the versions presented by the state and by the victim's representative on the implementation of those protection measures. The court traveled, in this case, both times to Brazil to visit two detention centers and assess itself the situation of the beneficiaries of the provisional measures. At the end of the case before the court, after the court has issued a judgment, different from the European Court of Human Rights, whose supervision of the judgment is carried out by the Committee of Ministers. In our case, in the inter-American system, the court itself monitors compliance with the judgment. So that's a massive amount of work that has to be done. And we now have a special unit dedicated to monitoring compliance with judgments. And in that role, the court has also carried out in situ visits to monitor compliance with its judgment. So last week, a delegation of the court was in Paraguay to assess the implementation of 3 emblematic judgments relating to indigenous peoples' land rights in that country. And this is a very positive development, and brings the court closer to the victims, and also helps, I think, states implement these judgments. Finally, the seat of the court is in San Jose, Costa Rica, but since 2007, the court has a practice of traveling to all the countries in Latin America to hold extraordinary periods of sessions in these countries. That's a measure to aimed at getting the court closer to the victims, making it more accessible, making it more known to the peoples of the Americas. And the court has been to every country in South America, and quite a few in Central America already. Also very positive development. Particular to note that in these extraordinary periods of sessions, the court will not deal with cases from that specific country, neither a hearing nor the deliberation of judgments or provisional measures, in order to keep the appearance of independence as well, so not to be seen as to be influenced by those countries. I think this is all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, and should you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. نشكر السيد كاروسو اللي قام بهذا العرض القيم وظهر كل الإيجابيات لهذه المحكمة، إذ أن لديها اختصاصات قضائية وكذلك اختصاصات استشارية، وكذلك ظهر من هذا العرض القيم كون أن المحكمة هي تطبق كل مبادئ الخاصة بالمحاكمة العادلة، وهي تسهيل اللجوء إلى هذه المحكمة بأي وسيلة وبأي لغة، وفي الأخير المساعدة القضائية التي تعطى إلى الضحايا. شكرا السيد على هذه المداخلة. إذن والآن السيد ساتي فاتو بوديلني، واسمحوا لي إذا الاسم ما كانش وهو من يقدم عرض حول المحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان، وأرجو منكم سيدي لاحترام الوقت أي 15 دقيقة، وأنتم مشكورين وتفضلوا.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no problem with the pronunciation of my name. It was perfect. First of all, I would like to Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to express my thanks to the Arab Committee of Human Rights and the Arab League and the Office of the High Commissioner for this invitation. I am the head of the Research Division of the European Court of Human Rights. As you know, the court is based in Strasbourg, and it's probably the oldest of the courts represented around this table. I will briefly explain how the whole system works, and then I will explain what are the current challenges and the current developments. You will see there are many and relatively serious ones. So the court was established by the European Convention on Human Rights, which was signed in 1950, and after the ratification process, it managed to deliver its first judgment in 1960. It was a judgment against the United Kingdom, and it was a case about terrorism. The European Convention on Human Rights covers pretty much all areas of law. Constitutional law, criminal law, civil law, administrative law, in some respect, taxation law. And therefore, it really works as, I wouldn't use the term constitutional court for Europe, but if you can have an element of comparison, you could compare it with the Supreme Court of the United States. It has jurisdiction over 47 countries. That is the current 28 members of the European Union, plus 19 other states, which include Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, Azerbaijan, basically all of the European states except of Belarus and the Vatican. It has jurisdiction over more than 800 million people, but also over legal entities such as political parties, corporations, NGOs, labor unions, and so on. So the potential scope of its work is huge, as you can see. The whole system works on the basis of two main principles. The first principle is the right to individual petition. That means that any person or any legal entity which is on the territory of one of the member states has the right to be protected by the European Convention of Human Rights and therefore to apply to the court. That is the principle. Then there is an exemption which extends the jurisdiction even more, which is extraterritorial jurisdiction. And to make a long story short and to give you a clear example, when you have this massive flood of refugees crossing the Mediterranean, whenever an Italian Navy ship in international waters, so outside of the territory of Italy, which is a member state of the Council of Europe and a party to the European Convention on Human Rights, whenever one of those ships brings on board refugees, even in international waters, by the simple fact that these people are therefore under the control and authority of Italian Navy, they are under Italian jurisdiction as far as the European Convention of Human Rights is concerned, and therefore have a right to apply to the European Convention, to the European Court of Human Rights. The second principle is the principle of subsidiarity, which means that the primary actor of the whole system is not the court based in Strasbourg, but is each member state. It is for state jurisdictions at the different levels of jurisdiction to implement the European Convention on Human Rights. And the court can only be addressed to once the domestic remedies which are available in one particular country have been exhausted. And any applicant has 6 months after the final judgment at domestic level to apply to the court. As I said previously, the convention covers most branches of law. I'm not going to go into the details of each article. You have the right to life, the right to freedom and liberty, right to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, prohibition of torture, prohibition of slavery, right to marry, right of property, and so on. The judgments and decisions of the court are binding. Member states have a legal obligation to implement those judgments. But this is a difference with the Inter-American Court. The court doesn't, once a judgment has been delivered, the court doesn't follow up. It is a special department of the Council of Europe which deals with the compliance, the monitoring of compliance by member states. And it's the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe which is the executive body of the organization, which then decides what to do if a particular country does not comply. Now, what happens when the court delivers a judgment? There could be two different type of remedies sought. In most of the cases, once a violation of the convention has been established by the court, the defending government will be asked to pay compensatory damages to the victim, to the applicant, which normally states do. For instance, Russia had a series of violations, of very serious violations concerning right to life and right to and prohibition of torture and inhuman and degrading treatments relating to the war in Chechnya, and Russia complied with the court's judgments, paying whatever damages had to be paid to the victim. When things become a bit trickier is when a violation established by the court has to do with the structural problems. We have many problems due to prison conditions of detention. And as you can imagine, it is not that easy for a state to amend the whole system of how prisons work. It has to do, it requires a lot of legislative work, it requires a lot of financial resources, and that is a serious question. But most of the time, when the payment of damages is concerned, states comply. How does the court works? There are four types of judicial formations. The Grand Chamber, which deals with the most complex cases, and is composed of 17 judges. Chambers of 7 judges, which deal with the majority of substantial cases. Committees of 3 judges, which deal with repetitive cases for which we have what we call a well-established case law, and then a single judge formation which deals with clearly inadmissible applications, which are the majority of the applications received by the court, around 90%. That's in a nutshell how the system works. Of course, as for the Inter-American Court, the court can also order provisional measures requesting states to refrain, for instance, to extradite an applicant or to expel a migrant. Because of the principle of individual petition and because of the scope of its jurisdiction, the court has always been faced with massive numbers of applications. In 2011, we had almost, actually more than 100,000 clearly inadmissible cases, which were sitting there because we couldn't manage to get rid of them in a very effective way. So we changed the system and we introduced the single judge formation, which managed to get rid of the backlog of inadmissible cases. Today we only have 5,000. That being said, we still have 64,000 pending cases on October 31st of this year. So this is the current workload, is 64,000 pending cases. 45,000 of these cases are substantial cases, not inadmissible cases. So cases requiring a judgment by a chamber composed of 7 judges. We do have a lot of structural problems, 17,000 cases relating to prison conditions, 15,000 of which concern only 2 countries, Hungary and Romania. We do also have a big fluctuation in the number of cases being lodged at the court because of the geopolitical situation in Europe. When there was the attempted coup in Turkey last year, we had an influx of 32,000 cases relating to measures taken by the Turkish government after the coup. 27,000 of those cases have been dismissed as inadmissible because the applicants didn't exhaust domestic remedies. But there could be more cases coming from that particular area. We also have a lot of individual cases, individual applications relating to the situation between Ukraine and Russia, Eastern Ukraine and Crimea, many thousands of those. We do have a few interstate applications, mainly relating to this type of conflicts, Ukraine against Russia, Georgia against Russia. We had in the past Cyprus versus Turkey, or Ireland versus the United Kingdom. The big challenge today is more than 20,000 substantial cases which are not structural and therefore cannot be dealt with in groups, because that's what we do when we deal with structural cases. We put them together in groups because the measures that states are required to take are the same ones. But for 20,000, these are individual cases which cannot be grouped, and that's where we have a problem today. Against this background, the resources of the court are limited. We have a budget of 71 million euro for 2017, which roughly you take a couple of big hotels around the square, and that's pretty much their budget, 71 million euro. We have 47 judges, one per every state party to the convention. We have about 650, something less, staff members of the registry. Official languages are English and French, so many of the decisions and the judgments must be translated. That is a substantial budget. And we have a zero nominal growth budget, so that means that we have to do more with less. It's a serious challenge to the court. How do we address this challenge? IT. We have a state-of-the-art IT system which allows us to have one of the best workflow in a judicial environment in the world. We are streamlining our working methods. We are trying to specialize more and more pools of lawyers assisting the judges in one particular areas, although the 5 sections of the court are not specialized in terms of topic, but we are trying to go into this direction. We are enhancing the dialogue between our court and the superior courts of the member states so that we receive less cases, because on the basis of the principle of subsidiarity, the better the convention is implemented at national level, the less cases we receive in Strasbourg. And therefore, we have created in 2015 a network of superior courts, which now totals, I think, 64 courts for more than 30 states. We have an internet platform on which we cooperate, and there are many exchanges. Our court provides detailed information on its latest case law, which is very much appreciated by the superior courts of each country. And in turn, the superior court provide information about the domestic legislation, which our court uses as a comparative tool in its judgments. This morning there was a question about whether or not, I think from my colleague from FRA, about whether or not one of the African courts was using references to international law, and in particular to the European Court in their judgments. This is certainly the case for our court. We systematically put references to international law and also to domestic law, including judgments of some African countries. I remember several cases where we referred to the jurisprudence of the South African Supreme Court, for instance. So this is a comparative tool that the court uses systematically. Next step is the adoption of the 16th protocol to the European Convention on Human Rights, which should be adopted, which should enter into force in the next couple of months. That will allow member states to request advisory opinions to the court, which is something that the Inter-American Court already does. And we hope that when that system is in place, although it will entail more work for the court, it will help superior courts at national level to better implement, better understand the convention, and therefore reduce the workload for our court. And I think that I'm 1 minute over the time limit. Thank you very much for your attention. I am available for any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. إذا نشكر مرة أخرى السيد الذي قام بمداخلة قيمة وبين المحكمة الأوروبية اللي هي بين تشكيلاتها واختصاصاتها، وهي لديها نطاق جد واسع للغاية، وكذلك تكلم على تنفيذ الأحكام، ونتمنى إن شاء الله بأنه هذا التنفيذ الأحكام تكون في المستقبل سنة تتبع من قبل كل المحاكم الإقليمية الأخرى بطبيعة الحال في ميدان حقوق الإنسان. ولدي سؤال أطرحه لكم في الحوار فيما يخص كيفية تعيين 47 قاضي الذين ينتموا إلى هذا المحكمة. شكرا. إذن والآن الكلمة للسيد جوناس من الوكالة الاتحاد الأوروبي لحقوق الإنسان، وأطلب منه كذلك الاحترام بالوقت 15 دقيقة، وهو مشكورا ويتفضل.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Excellencies, colleagues. It's a great pleasure to be able to address you today and to say a little bit about where I work and what we do. And I would like to explain first a little bit about the FRA, the European Union Fundamental Rights Agency, and then give one concrete example that is very topical. So the previous speaker, Stefano, mentioned kindly that there are 28 EU member states, and that is our mandate. We look only on the human rights situation within those 28 member states. There are, of course, issues when we look at situations on the border, and we are slightly outside of the EU, but more or less it's the 28. We were established 10 years ago by EU law, so European Union law, and in that way we are a body of the European Union, an agency, one out of 45, but we have some very particular characteristics. For one, we are dealing with human rights as opposed to the others who deal with police cooperation or judicial cooperation or asylum cooperation. Our topic, human rights, was deemed to be in need of some specific guarantees in terms of independence. So the agency's independence, the director and the management board, differently from other EU agencies, has very strong independence assurances. And in a way, we could be seen as an NHRI, a national human rights institution for the European Union, in that we are a body established internally to the European Union, and we're monitoring the situation in the countries. So an NHRI for the 28 EU member states, and we also have the Paris Principles in the EU legislation that sets us up, mentioned prominently in order to underscore the independence that we rely on in giving advice to the EU institutions and the member states. So in addition to the 28 member states, we're also advising the 3 EU institutions, so the European Parliament, the Council, and the European Commission. And I realize I'm outside of Europe, so of course the 28 member states span countries from Finland to Portugal and from Ireland to Bulgaria. We're about 100 plus staff members located in Vienna, Austria, bringing together lawyers, social scientists, communicators that work hopefully seamlessly together on delivering advice and communicating this advice to our stakeholders. We also have a possibility, in addition to this group of staff members or group of staff, to purchase research in the 28 member states. We have a network of researchers spanning the disciplines I mentioned and beyond that, with expertise in the areas that we want to focus on, that we retain and we are able to give them, and we do several tasks every year, asking them according to a template that we design, a research design that we come up with to deliver to us research findings so that we can collect a comparative overview of the situation in the member states. On the basis of in-house research and this network, we are delivering legal advice, information on the social reality, and we also do large-scale surveys, and that's the examples I would like to give you in a little bit. And I also brought some studies, and they're available on the table, like, for instance, this one about, which is an extract of a large-scale survey where we would present the 28 member states and the situation, in this case, discrimination of Roma. We also deliver something that one think wouldn't be needed because others would do it, but in very close cooperation with the European Court of Human Rights, that's why we're seated next to each other, we produce these kinds of manuals that bring together jurisprudence from the Court of the European Union, so the Court of Justice of the European Union, and the European Court of Human Rights, as well as jurisprudence of the Human Rights Committee and other UN treaty bodies, and on occasion national jurisprudence, to make topics clearer in Europe. What is the jurisprudence? So we have these on rights of the child, on migration, and this one on access to justice. We have on data protection, and I always forget one out of the 5-6 topics that we have. And this we have available thanks to the cooperation with the court, not only in the 24 official EU languages, but also in some additional ones. So the migration one, for instance, is available in, I believe, Turkish and Arabic as well. And all of it free of charge electronically or in paper copy. We don't receive, we're not mandated to receive individual complaints. We only deliver advice, if you will, as I've explained. Underpinning our work and that of the European Union is a Charter of Fundamental Rights, legally binding since 2009, so that's, my math is not so good, 8 years, something like that, thank you. We have a legally binding instrument for the European Union. So within the competence of the European Union, which is not infinite but very specific, this Charter of Fundamental Rights or human rights with 50 provisions is binding law. This charter, it spans rights such as in the European Convention, civil and political rights, but also economic, social and cultural rights. And one maybe odd example is freedom to conduct a business. So more of a modern right, and that there shouldn't be too much red tape for businesses to do their, as it were, business. We deal with at the agency the full range of this charter, focusing in particular on issues of related to equality, data protection, security, anti-terrorism, asylum and migration, rights of persons with disability, access to justice, and as a concrete example on justice, business and human rights. How can you have a remedy in cases of business human rights? We provide to the EU institutions and the member states formal as well as informal advice directly to the stakeholders mentioned, but also through media where that is needed or more efficient or so. So we also try to work closely with civil society and media in getting that message across. And tomorrow in Brussels we're launching a a large-scale survey, and that's what I like to conclude with as a concrete example. And that is the second round of this type of, on this topic, a large-scale survey on discrimination of minorities and immigrants in the European Union. And we've done this on some other topics as well, victims of violence against women. We've done it in relation to discrimination of Roma, on discrimination of lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and intersex persons, and a few other issues related to religion. The one we're launching tomorrow, as I said, is on minorities, more or less, and I'll give you a few examples from that. And since it's that topical, since it's presented tomorrow, I cannot reveal formally everything, but maybe if it stays in this room, I can say a few things, even though it will maybe not be as fascinating as one could expect. Actually, it's very sad, the results. The survey results is linked very much to the commitments and the obligations of the European Union, but it also links very much to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, in particular Goal 10 and 16, 10 on equality and 16 on peaceful and inclusive societies. And the European Union has committed itself to the SDGs very much, and equality is also part of the very DNA. It's part of the constitutional DNA of the European Union, with specific legislation in place since 2000, so 17 years. That math I could do. And even an obligation for member states to have national equality bodies that promote equality nationally. The study that I would like to proceed with, as I said, we've done once before, 8 years ago, and similarly to that time, we're interviewing 25,000 persons, face-to-face, in person. So not all of them myself or my colleagues, but with the contractors that we have, we're interviewing roughly 45 minutes with each person, and as I said, 25,000 of them in all 28 EU member states. We're looking at discrimination, but also issues like victims of hate crime, the experience of police stopping persons on what grounds. And I'd like to give you some data and results that I am allowed to give you, because we launched it already in October, that related specifically to Muslims. So the survey is designed in such a way that in each of the member states, we're looking at the 3 largest minorities or immigrant groups. So that can differ. In some member states, it's Roma. In some member states, it's Russian-speaking minorities. In others, it's sub-Saharan Africans. In yet others, it's North Africans and Arabic, etc. And what we did in October was to pull out the discrimination of Muslims in the European Union. And that's mainly in Italy, France, the Netherlands, and a few more of the member states. And the result is the largest survey ever on Muslims, to our knowledge. And we got a lot of coverage in European and international media back then a few weeks ago. And what is interesting is that Muslims, just like the results that will be released tomorrow for minorities and ethnic groups or immigrant groups across the EU, is very committed to the democratic institutions in the EU at a very high rate, higher than the general population even. Still, there is a lot of discrimination going on, and unfortunately the situation hasn't improved in the 8 years since we did the survey last time. 76%, so a bit more than 3/4 of all Muslims, Muslim respondents in the survey, feel that they are strongly attached to the country they live in. However, 31% of Muslim respondents, so a third, feel that they have been discriminated when they seek employment in particular, and that's the biggest area of concern, employment. Also, as I said, we have data on police stops. So 42%, so almost half of the respondents, said that they had been stopped by police, who had been stopped by police over the last year, said that it happened because of the migrant or ethnic minority background. So almost half of them felt that why they were stopped by police was because of their ethnicity or minority background. And this underscores very much the sense of exclusion that is very risky and dangerous for the society, of course. Looking at the clock, I think it's enough with the numbers and percentage, and there's more in the reports, and I could share more. But by way of finally then concluding, so the European Union guarantees in its treaty not only the Charter of Fundamental Rights, or including the Charter of Fundamental Rights, equality, and there has been legislation in place, including national monitoring bodies, as I said. Efforts have been made, attention is given at EU level and national level, but as you can see from the results, much more is needed for progress to be seen. This type of surveys, this type of results goes very well in our experience, providing a comparative overview across the 28 member states, and it goes very well down with politicians and media. And we find it very important to provide this comparison where it's more difficult for member states to say, to defend themselves, but this is not comparative, or it's an outlier, but we are able then, we see to present this in a more coherent way. In the reports, finally, we're also suggesting how we think one should go about improving the situation. Involvement of Muslim, in this case, reinforcement of trust in the police. But I'll stop there, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. إذن نشكر السيد جوناس عن تقديم هذا العرض القيم، وأين تكلم على 45 وكالات هي تنشط عبر 28 دول، وتقوم بكل الاختصاصات التي لها صلة بحقوق الإنسان. إذن شكرا على هذا التقديم، وشكرا كذلك على الكتبين اللي راكم قدمتوها، واللي ربما راه غادي تكون لها نشر واسع. إذن فيما يخص المداخلة الرابعة التي هي مبرمجة في هذه الحصة، فالسيد محمود عفيفي يحتضر، ويمثله السيد شاكلين جافد. نعم. شكون أين هو؟ فايت شكون السيد شاكلي هو اللي يجي.
اللي هو من شكلي. What's your name, please?
Well, my name is Saklin Javed.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Excuse me for the formation of your name. Donc c'est lui qui fait هو اللي يقوم بهذه المداخلة. هو اللي يقوم. تفضلوا.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. And I apologize for putting you in a difficult situation by putting, such a difficult name. But if you keep inviting me over, I'll become a common name in the domain of human rights, inshallah. So first of all, it's a great opportunity on behalf of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and it has. We are probably among the youngest of the entities that are present in this room. We are although youngest, but I can say that we are among the largest, because we represent the 57 Muslim states that cover the region, 3 continents, spanning from Indonesia to Morocco. 3 continents, 57 Muslim states, and covering a population of 1.6 billion people. And this renewed emphasis on human rights came in when the OIC propounded its 10-year program of action in 2005. in which it renewed its emphasis on human rights, rule of law, good governance, and focus on developing its people through a human rights-based approach. Accordingly, the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission was created in 2011. So we are just, an entity that was created 6 years back. And only this year we have achieved our independent headquarters, which is based in Jeddah. And we are, we're conducting our activities from there, but we keep on moving from, we hold seminars, we hold workshops, we hold, field visits, and and we have covered a lot of ground in these 6 years. Just to apprise you that as a principal organ of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, we have the responsibility to promote and protect human rights and fundamental freedoms primarily within the member states. But that does not restrict us within the member states, but our mandate is beyond member states. Like, we also cater for protecting the human rights of Muslim communities in non-member states also. And we are different from other regional mechanisms, that we are a cross-regional entity. We do not represent a certain region. We cover Africa, we cover Asia, and also the Arab region. And it is designed to promote the universal character of human rights. It also has a global dimension, as its multifaceted role extends to issues on human rights agenda that equally affect the lives of people living in member and non-member states. The second distinctive character is this commission primarily has an advisory role. And I would emphasize on saying that it has a consultative role, because it gets its mandate from the Council of Ministers of OIC. So on one hand, it is independent in conducting its mandate. Once it is given a mandate, it does it in an objective and an independent manner. But its mandate primarily comes from the Council of Ministers of the OIC member states. And once that mandate is given, there are 18 commission members which are nominated by the member states. But once they are nominated and elected by the Council of Foreign Ministers, they cease to exist as nominees of their member states. They start operating as independent commission members, as if they have no affiliation or bias with the, from the country they're coming. So they take on these issues in a very independent and objective manner. Coming to the mandates, that just to give you an idea of the areas in which we are operating, and obviously those are the mandates that we get from the CFM. The first and the foremost is combating Islamophobia, for which the OIC, the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission is publishing studies, is conducting seminars, in which we highlighted the role of media in combating hate speech. And also we galvanize our OIC ambassadorial groups in New York and Geneva through the General Secretariat to present, to support the UN resolution on 1618. Then we have a permanent standing mechanism to monitor human rights violations in Indian occupied Kashmir, and also in occupied Palestine territories, in Central African Republic, in Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, and we also, although we are a very new entity, but we have started on a firm footing that we have started to review the basis of OIC, which is on the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights in Islam. That is one document that provides basis for OIC to look into the human rights issues. Now, what we have started is that we have given OIC, we have been mandated by the Council of Foreign Ministers to review the Cairo Declaration and bring it in conformity with the international instruments, because that is one of the criticism that is leveled against Cairo Declaration, that it is not in line with the international human rights instruments. So what we have done is that we have presented an initial document, which is now with the member states to have it, to review it and adopt it. In conducting our task, we are guided by certain principles, and few of them are the complementarity, introspection, prioritization, incremental approach, and credibility. By complementarity, I mean that we do not want to duplicate the work. What we want to do is, the Commission wants to do is to bridge the gaps, because there are already regional mechanisms, there are already national human rights institutions that are within the member states that are working. What we want to do is to bridge the gaps, the places where these entities cannot operate. The Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission takes a joint Islamic action in that area. The second guiding principle which I highlighted is introspection, that we do not, we believe in remedial measures rather than the judgmental approach. And that's why we even take on studies that improve the functioning of and the implementation of human rights instruments within the member states. And since the resources are limited, so we have prioritized our issues. And the areas of priority that we have highlighted are the first and foremost is Palestine, where we work in areas of protecting children in the conflict zone, rights of women and rights of child, the right of development. We have held a seminar on this, and we are working with the UN, especially the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, to emphasize this right to development. And we are asking the member states to include this, to include the update on right to development in their UPR mechanisms also. We have also, we know that in order to implement human rights, there has to have an incremental approach, and that approach can only come through legislative means, but most importantly is through changing the mindset. And for that, we have included right to education as one of our priority areas. And we do these things by carrying out, awareness raising through seminars, workshops, by publishing studies, and offering capacity building and technical cooperation programs. We have approached the national human rights institutions, and we have asked. There is a focal point, and we are trying to establish an institutional linkages with them. This is definitely a work in progress, and we look forward to working in a more substantive and a more meaningful manner with other regional human rights mechanisms, and also with the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights to share knowledge and to progress our agenda on human rights. Thank you. And I would like to invite questions if the participants have any on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. إذن نشكرك على هذه المداخلة القيمة التي قمت بها، وبينتوا بأنه حقوق الإنسان ما تعرفش الحدود لا في المسافة ولا في المبادئ، والعمل عمل عويص فعلا، وعمل يتطلب الوقت والتكامل. ونفس الفكرة تبناها المجلس الوطني لحقوق الإنسان، إذ أنه كل مرة نتكلم ونقول بأنه هذا المجلس الوطني لحقوق المقيم، كل فرد كل مقيم على الأرض الجزائرية، وليس مجلس وطني لحقوق الجزائريين. والأبواب المجلس مفتوحة لكل شخص مقيم فوق الأرض قطع البلد الجزائر بدون تمييز لا حول اللون، الجنسية، العرق إلى آخره. إذن أنتم مشكورين، لأنه حقوق الإنسان لابد أن يكون التكامل، ولم يكن الحدود أو أي حاجز. إذن نفوت للمداخلة الأخيرة التي ستقدمها ولا تقدمها معذرة، لأنه مازال ما تعرفت على نظرائي والشخصيات الموجودة هنا. السيد أو السيدة، وأنا نحتذر مرة أخرى، ديلناغا ساتا نوفا. ألوغ من أكرر، ديلناغا ساتا نوفا.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I heard my name. I'm here. Here. Thank you.
Yes. أكرر السيدة. إذن الآن تحققت عليكم السيدة ديلناغا ساتا نوفا. تفضلي مشكورة.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Dear colleagues, my name is Dilnoza Satarova. I work for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights. So I understand that our full-fledged presentation was not included as an agenda item because the response to the invitation from our side was communicated after the agenda was shaped. But nevertheless, I thank you, Madam Chair, for making the room for my brief intervention, which seeks to provide an overview of our mandate and also our key activities, our work. So the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe is a security organization, and the security in the OSCE is viewed as a comprehensive concept that encompasses political, military, environmental, economic, and human dimensions. And in this context, in the OSCE, human dimension include matters pertaining to human rights, to fundamental freedoms, democratization, tolerance and non-discrimination, also protection of the rights of Roma and Sinti, and the conduct of fair, transparent, and democratic elections. So in the Helsinki Final Act, the first document which was adopted in the framework of the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe back in 1975, OSCE participating states, and at that time CSC participating states, placed an emphasis on the importance of protecting and promoting human rights for all, regardless their race, religion, sex, ethnic, or other backgrounds. It was recognized then back in 1975 that sustainable and lasting security can be only achieved if human rights are respected and human dimension of security is guaranteed. So ODIHR, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, for which I work for, and I work as an officer on freedom of religion or belief, is a principal human dimension institution of the OSCE. It is based in Warsaw, in Poland, and our mandate is to assist 57 OSCE participating states in implementing the human dimension commitments. ODIHR works across the OSCE region, and geographically it spans from Vancouver to Vladivostok, in close cooperation with governments, of course, of all these 57 states, but also civil society organizations, human rights defenders, national human rights institutions, religious or belief communities, and of course, intergovernmental organizations. We work closely with the UN, its special procedures, specialized agencies and bodies. We also work with the EU's Fundamental Rights Agency, with the Council of Europe and other organizations. So in all areas of work, and I would like to emphasize that mainstreaming gender is one of our priorities in line with the commitments adopted by OSCE participating states. So what do? We develop thematic guidelines or recommendations to OSCE participating states, and some of the most recent examples include guidelines on the legal personality or registration of religious or belief communities that we issued 2 years ago. We also have the guidelines on freedom of associations, published a year ago, guidelines on the protection of human rights defenders, guidelines on freedom of peaceful assembly, and many of our guidelines are co-developed with the Venice Commission of the Council of Europe. These guidelines, as I mentioned, is a tool for primarily states, but these are also used by civil society organizations as an advocacy tool, and we are also aware that the European Court for Human Rights frequently references their guidelines in its judgments. We also provide legal reviews of existing and draft laws, policy documents, national action plans on matters pertaining to human dimension matters, and offer OSCE participating states recommendations on how to ensure compliance of those pieces of legislation with international standards and OSCE commitments. And we publish all of our reviews on the website, which is called legislationline.org. We also provide other types of expert assistance through our specialized panels of experts on various topics, for example, on freedom of religion or belief, on freedom of peaceful assembly. We also conduct capacity building activities, of course, on various human rights based on our in-house developed methodology that we tailor into each context where we work in. We also facilitate dialogue among states and non-state actors. We provide platforms for regular review of implementation of OSCE commitments through organization of meetings at the national and international levels. And human dimension implementation meeting is one of the examples that I would like to bring to your attention. HDIM is the largest human rights conference that is held in Warsaw for the past 25 years, in September and October usually, and gathers over 1,500 participants from across the OSCE region, but also from other countries. We also work closely with our Mediterranean partners for cooperation, including Algeria, Egypt, Tunisia, Jordan, Morocco, and Israel. We, of course, stand ready to deepen our cooperation with the Mediterranean partners and to establish perhaps new partnerships with civil society, with religious belief communities, national human rights institutions in these countries. And we offer, of course, the full range of our expertise and assistance to our Mediterranean partners as we do to OSCE participating states. Thank you for your attention, and thank you, Madam Chair.
شكرا. Thank you very much. شكرا. ظهرتي على كل المبادئ اللي راح تسير هذه المنظمة وهي مبادئ لها علاقة مباشرة مع تثبيت كل الحقوق، حماية حقوق الإنسان، وأنتم مشكورين على ذلك. والآن الكلمة للسيدة أمينة المهيري، فتتفضل مشكورة، وأنتم على علم بالاحترام التوقيت من فضلكم. تفضل.
شكرا سيدة رئيسة. At the beginning, please allow me to welcome our dear friends and colleagues. Welcome to Cairo, welcome to the Arab League. I'm actually really happy to have this meeting today, to have a platform where we can exchange our best practices, challenges as a human rights mechanism, regional and international as well. Since the majority is speaking Arabic, I'll switch to Arabic, but I just wanted to welcome you in English. اليوم راح أتكلم بطريقة مختصرة كثيراً عن لجنة الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان، لأن الأغلبية العظمى كانوا موجودين معنا اليومين اللي فاتوا، وانطرح الموضوع هذا أكثر عن مرة. في البداية أحب أتكلم عن المنظومة العربية لحقوق الإنسان. المنظومة العربية لحقوق الإنسان تشمل اللجنة العربية الدائمة لحقوق الإنسان، واللي يتكلم عنها الدكتور اليوم الصباح، لجنة حقوق الإنسان العربية، لجنة الميثاق، والمحكمة العربية لحقوق الإنسان. مثل ما احنا عارفين، اللجنة العربية الدائمة لحقوق الإنسان هي اللجنة التي تضم في عضويتها الدول الأعضاء في الجامعة العربية، وهي الآلية الحكومية أو الجهاز الرئيسي الحكومي لحقوق الإنسان في الجامعة العربية. تأسست في 1968، وتحال إليها التقارير من الدول الأعضاء في الجامعة العربية والأمين العام، وتخرج بتوصيات تعرضها على مجلس الجامعة على مستوى وزراء الخارجية. لو انتقلنا لجنة حقوق الإنسان العربية، لجنة الميثاق، وهي اللجنة طبعا التي تطبق الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان. مثل ما احنا عارفين، الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان صدر في 2004، دخل حيز التنفيذ في 2008، انشئت لجنة الميثاق في 2009. لجنة الميثاق تضم في عضويتها 7 أعضاء من الدول المصادقة أو الدول الأطراف الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان، يتم انتخابهم بالاقتراع السري من قبل هذه الدول الأطراف، ومهمتها الرئيسية هي استعراض التقارير المقدمة من الدول، التقارير الخاصة طبعا بحقوق الإنسان، دراستها وإصدار التوصيات والملاحظات عليها. المحكمة العربية لحقوق الإنسان هي طبعاً آلية جديدة أنشئت في صدر نظامها الأساسي عن مجلس الجامعة في 2014، ومثل ما ذكرنا في جلسة الصباح لم تدخل حيز التنفيذ، والدولة الوحيدة التي صادقت عليه المملكة العربية السعودية. ننتقل للسلايد الثاني. اختصاصات لجنة حقوق الإنسان العربية، طبعاً مثل ما ذكرت، هي تتلقى التقارير المقدمة من دول الأطراف بموجب الميثاق ومناقشتها وإصدار الملاحظات والتوصيات عليها، تقوم بتفسير الميثاق بما يكفل التطبيق الأمثل لأحكامه، تطلب المعلومات من أجهزة الجامعة ومؤسساتها، وتتقدم اللجنة بتقرير إلى مجلس الجامعة سنوي، وكذلك من بين أنشطتها هي عقد المؤتمرات وورش العمل ذات الصلة بعملها. الحوار التفاعلي مع الدول الأطراف، طبعاً هذه المهمة الرئيسية للجنة الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان، هو عقد حوار تفاعلي مع الدول الأطراف لمناقشة تقاريرها المبنية على أحكام الميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان. وعملية الاستعراض هاي تعطي فرصة لتقييم الالتزام بأحكام الميثاق والسياسات والتشريعات والممارسات. تقوم اللجنة بتعيين مقرر من أعضائها لتقرير الدولة المقدم. طبعا يشترط أن هذا المقرر لا يكون من جنسية الدولة المقدمة تقريرها. يقوم هذا المقرر بالتعاون مع أمانة اللجنة بدراسة التقرير وإصدار لائحة الملاحظات أو المسائل الأولية التي يتم إرسالها إلى الدولة، وطلب الرد عليها بصورة دقيقة ومختصرة، إما كتابياً خطياً أو خلال استعراض هذه الدولة لتقريرها في الجامعة. زيارات الدول، لا نرجع للسلايد اللي قبله. عفوا بعد أكمل بس على عملية الاستعراض. بعد مناقشة طبعا الدولة لتقريرها تقوم اللجنة بإصدار الملاحظات الختامية والتوصيات وإرسالها للدولة، وإعطاء كذلك الدولة مهلة شهر للتعليق إذا في أي ملاحظات على المشروع التوصيات التي قامت به اللجنة، ومن بعد مدة الشهر يتم اعتمادها ونشرها على موقع اللجنة الرسمي. زيارات الدول: يجوز لأعضاء لجنة الميثاق العربي زيارة الدول الأطراف أو الدولة المقدمة للتقرير بناء على يا إما تكون دعوة من الدولة أو طلب من اللجنة. طبعا زيارات الدول تعطي الفرصة للجنة أولا بعقد، تعطيها الفرصة للاطلاع على حالة حقوق الإنسان في الدولة الطرف، وكذلك عقد ورشة تعريفية بالميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان، والتعرف على آخر المستجدات في التشريعات الداخلية في القوانين لهذه الدول، وكذلك الالتقاء بالمؤسسات اللجان الوطنية لحقوق الإنسان والمجتمع المدني في هذه الدولة. تشمل الزيارات على سبيل المثال مراكز الاحتجاز، المؤسسات القضائية، المؤسسات المسؤولة عن أوضاع ذوي الإعاقة، النساء المعنفات، إيواء ضحايا رجال البشر، وهيئات إنفاذ القانون. تعتبر اللجنة أن هذه الزيارات جزء من الحوار التفاعلي الشامل البناء مع الدولة الطرف الذي يسهم في تحليل وتفسير العقوبات والعوائق التي تحول دون تنفيذ كافة مواد الميثاق العربي. الملاحظات والتوصيات الختامية ذكرتها أنا، هي الملاحظات التي تصدرها اللجنة بعد الانتهاء مثل ما قلنا من مناقشة تقرير الدولة الطرف وإرسالها إلى الدولة وإعطاء مهلة الشهر، ومن ثم بعد ذلك اعتمادها بصورة نهائية. مشاركة المؤسسات الوطنية والمنظمات غير الحكومية. تولي اللجنة اهتمام كبير بتفاعل هالمؤسسات والمنظمات غير الحكومية، والنظر في أو خلينا نقول تقوم بتلقي التقارير الموازية لهذه المؤسسات الوطنية والمنظمات الغير الحكومية، طبعا هذا بناء على دليل مشاركة المنظمات المجتمع المدني الذي وضعته اللجنة. ولازم يعني نحن ننظر في تقارير هذه المنظمات أو المجتمع المدني، ولازم تكون يعني تتسم بالموضوعية في طرحها لمسائل حقوق الإنسان في هذه الدولة. كما تقوم كذلك اللجنة خلال مناقشة تقرير الدولة الطرف بعقد جلسة مغلقة لأعضاء المؤسسات الوطنية والمجتمع المدني المسجلين للمشاركة في هذه الدورة، والاستماع إلى آرائهم واستفساراتهم وتعليقاتهم على التقرير الوطني المقدم أمامها. أبرز التحديات التي تواجه اللجنة العربية لحقوق الإنسان. شخصياً أنا بالنسبة لي، ما أدري رئيس اللجنة موجود، أنا التحدي الأكبر هو اسم اللجنة. لازم نغيرها عن اسم اللجنة الدائمة لحقوق الإنسان، لأني أنا شخصياً أتخربط بين اسم لجنة الميثاق واللجنة الدائمة لحقوق الإنسان. الصعوبات اللي تواجهها الدول، أبرز التحديات اللي احنا نشوفها هي الصعوبات اللي تواجهها الدول في إعداد التقارير، التأخير في تقديمها أو عدم إعدادها، وهذا أتوقع تحدي بارز تعاني من معظم خلينا نقول الآليات الإقليمية والدولية لحقوق الإنسان. التحدي الثاني هو الأخذ بعين الاعتبار للتوصيات الصادرة عن مختلف الآليات الإقليمية والدولية لمراعاة التوافق والاتساق مع المعايير الإقليمية لحقوق الإنسان. لجنة الميثاق نحن ننظر عند وضع التوصيات والملاحظات وحتى التساؤلات الأولية، ننظر إلى التوصيات الصادرة عن الآليات الدولية وكذلك الإقليمية لهذه الدولة الطرف، ويكون هناك في دراسة مقارنة، وممكن نحن كذلك نستعين بهذه التوصيات الصادرة من هذه الآليات الدولية وعرضها خلال مناقشة تقارير الدول. لجنة الميثاق هي الآلية التعاقدية الوحيدة حتى الآن في الجامعة العربية، وعليه عدة مهام لتعزيز وحماية حقوق الإنسان في مختلف الحقوق والحريات، لأن الميثاق وثيقة شاملة للحقوق والحريات. وإثراء المحتوى الفقهي والقانوني للمنظومة الإقليمية لحقوق الإنسان، وكذلك ولاية اللجنة في تفسير الميثاق العربي. طبعا اللجنة قامت بمناقشة عقدت في مقر الجامعة العربية في 30 نوفمبر 2016 مناقشة آليات وأدبيات ووضع التعليقات العامة بغية الاستفادة من الخبرات الأممية في هذا المجال. كانت هذه ورشة عمل عدتها اللجنة مع عدد من خبراء الآليات التعاهدية الدولية، طبعا بالتعاون مع المفوضية السامية لحقوق الإنسان. والقصد من ذلك هو الوقوف عند أفضل ممارسات ودراسة كيف هذه الآليات التعاهدية قامت بوضع تعليق على مواثيقها أو الاتفاقيات التي تتبعها. أنا هني تقريبا هذا نبذة مختصرة جدا جدا، وما أتوقع أني أنا استهلكت ال 15 دقيقة، ولكن باب الاستفسار مفتوح إذا في أي استفسار أو سؤال. شكرا.
شكرا جزيلا على هذا العرض القيم من أجل معرفة هذه اللجنة اللي نتمنى تسمى إما لجنة الميثاق أو لجنة مباشرة بدون الميثاق. وتمنيت كذلك تبينينا ما بصفتكم عضوة في هذه اللجنة، وبصفتكم كون أن هذه اللجنة مقيمة في مقر الجامعة في الزمالك، أنا تمنيت تبينينا ما هي ما هي الأسباب التي أدت إلى عدم تفعيل محكمة حقوق الإنسان هنا. أنا تمنيت ربما في ما هي الأسباب، ما هي إذا هناك عرقلة، لأنه أنتم كلكم متفقين مع المبدأ كل العمل الذي يكلل بالنجاح هو العمل الجماعي. مادام نحن هنا كلنا كل واحد يعطي رأي وربما نخرج بهذه النتيجة. لأن تشوفوا البرنامج اللي بعثوه لنا، تلاحظوا معي اللجنة والمحكمة ما عدا لجنة الميثاق. إذا تمنيت نعرف أكثر ما هو السبب الذي جعل عدم تفعيل هذه المحكمة اللي ربما راها موجودة في الأوراق. وشكرا.
شكرا السيدة فافا. أتوقع أني أنا شاركت نفس السؤال. أنا كذلك استفسر ليش لين اليوم ما تفعلت المحكمة العربية لحقوق الإنسان، لكن هذا السؤال نحن نسأله للدول الأطراف، لأن المحكمة لن تدخل حيز التنفيذ إلا إذا ما صادقت عليها الدول الأطراف. ومثل ما ذكرت الدولة الوحيدة التي صادقت على المحكمة هي المملكة العربية السعودية، وما زلنا بانتظار المزيد من المصادقة لتدخل حيز التنفيذ، إلا إذا سعادة الرئيس اللجنة عنده أي إضافة ثانية.
إذن شكرا. والآن نفتح الباب للأسئلة إذا هناك أسئلة، وأطلب من كل متداخل أن يقدم الأسئلة ويقدم لصاحب المداخلة. شكرا. نعم. تفضلي. بطبيعة الحال تقديم شخصياتكم لكي نتعرف عليكم. تفضلي.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. الدكتورة المحامية عصمة المرغني، رئيسة اتحاد المحامين الأفرو أسيوي لحقوق الإنسان، ورئيسة الحزب الاجتماع الحر والبلدة وطن مصر، جمهورية مصر العربية. أنا يعني الحقيقة منبهرة جدا من هذه الجلسة وهذه المناقشات الثرية اللي كانت دائما وأبدا بتدور في ذهننا إحنا كمنظمات مجتمع مدني. إمتى نتكاتف كلنا ونتكاتف ونكون كلنا في منظومة واحدة تدافع عن حقوق الإنسان بآلية واحدة، ولكن الطريق محفوف بالصعاب. أولا الصعاب المادية، فلماذا لا يكون هناك رابطة للمحامين المختصين بحقوق الإنسان خاصة بهذه الرابطة الجماعية لهذه المنظمات العديدة الدولية والإقليمية؟
من فضلك لمن توجهوا هذا السؤال أو نقاش عام؟
يعني سؤالي حاضر سيدة الرئيسة، سؤالي هو
متوجه إلى أي شخصية التي قامت بمداخلة هنا أو يندمج في نقاش عام أو سؤال حول
يعني سيادتك عايزة الأول السؤال ولا الأول الامبريشن؟
تفضل.
أنا واحد السؤال؟
نعم
السؤال سؤالي هو
ولمن متوجه لمن؟
أنا مش عارف أنت عايزة إيه سعادتك الأول أقوله وأنا مستعدة أقوله.
تفضلي.
أنا بقول إحنا السؤال أنا هخش في السؤال بقى ما دام حضرتك عايزة الأول السؤال هو من خلال هذه المنظومة الجميلة الرائعة الراقية بنريد أن يكون هناك رابطة أنا بصفتي كمحامية رابطة للمحامين المتخصصين في حقوق الإنسان تتولى الدعم المادي والدعم المعنوي لكل الضحايا اللي بيترددوا على هذه الرابطة، رابطة حقوق الإنسان من المحامين فقط اللي هم متخصصين في حقوق الإنسان. نمرة 2 لماذا لا يكون هناك دورات تدريبية لحقوق الإنسان بالنسبة برضو لرابطة المحامين المتخصصين لحقوق الإنسان، دورات تدريبية تساعدهم على تقديم المساعدات القانونية والاستشارية، وهذا يتطلب أيضا دعم مادي، فالطريق إلى حقوق الإنسان محفوف دائما بالصعاب. شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. في ملحوظة صغيرة سيدة الرئيسة تسمحي لي أقولها؟ أنا في الواقع بتشرف بأن يكون صهري هو سويدي الجنسية، وأنا من اتصالي بحقوق الإنسان في السويد لاحظت أن السويد السجون بتاعتها مفتوحة 3 أيام في الأسبوع، كذلك أقسام الشرطة مقفولة خميس وجمعة، كذلك السجون يعني بتراعي حقوق الإنسان للجناه وليس للضحايا، لكن بتراعيهم ولا سيما في قضايا القتل أيضا، فبتراعي الحالة النفسية للجاني وما هو الدافع إلى أنه هو قام بهذه الجريمة، جريمة قتل أو الاستيلاء أو whatever، ما هي الحالة النفسية اللي هي دعت إلى ذلك. وبالتالي بلاحظ وقد أكون مخطئة أن حقوق الضحايا بتروح في هذه الأمور اللي هي بتراعي فيها حقوق الإنسان من للجناه. شكرا سيادة الرئيس.
شكرا. أظن أنه الأجوبة عن هذه الانشغالات ستكون التوصيات التي سنطرحها في آخر هذه الجلسة. هل هناك سؤال؟ تفضلي سيدة. ولمن متوجه؟
شكرا سعادة الرئيس على مداخلتك بشكل عام وثنائك على والاهتمام بموضوع الأنظمة الإقليمية العربية خاصة. بحب أنا بس إنه أسأل موضوع ممثل منظمة التعاون الإسلامي بعده موجود؟
موجود، نعم موجود.
أوكي. بالنسبة بتمنى أسأل مندوب المنظمة حول ما هو القرار أو التدابير الذي عملت عليها منظمة التعاون الإسلامي فيما يخص قرار الرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب حول موضوع الاعتراف بالقدس عاصمة لإسرائيل، ورغم أنه يهدد الشعب وهو انتهاك صريح وفاضح لكل حقوق الإنسان فيما يخص الشعب الفلسطيني، ويهدد أيضا كامل اتفاقيات جنيف لحقوق الإنسان. شكرا. وأيضا سؤالي لسعادتك، طبعا المحكمة العربية يعني بتذكرنا في المحكمة الدولية اللي هي بلاهاي الجنائية لم تقم بقرار دول، بل أقيمت ووضعت على خارطة العالم بقرار من الشعب المدني، إن كان في روما أو في أوروبا، الشعب العريق الذي لديه مقومات حرية الرأي والفكر والثقافة والديمقراطية بفرض ما يريد، وقرار الشعب وضع على الخارطة العالمية من خلاله. فلذلك إن شاء الله نتمنى المحكمة العربية أن تكون كذلك الأمر. شكرا.
إن شاء الله. تفضلوا.
First of all, thank you for for raising this point. Well, this the relevant forum for answering this is since it's a political question, and the member states, they have the authority to to respond to it in a more political manner. But such decisions do have human rights implication as well. And Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, through its various communiques and press releases, enforces the right of self-determination of the Palestinian people, and keeps on highlighting the abuses and the violations conducted by the Israeli security forces on ground. And in this regards, the Commission did conduct a visit to the occupied Palestinian territories and highlighted those things in form of a report which was presented to the Council of Foreign Ministers, and they have taken note of it. The mechanism through which we operate as Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission is that we provide recommendations, and those recommendations are presented in front of the Council of Foreign Ministers. For example, in our last report, we asked them to institute the boycott, divestment, and sanctions regime against all those countries that violate the UN resolutions. And so it's up to the member states that how they implement those recommendations. So from the IPHRC perspective, we are a consultative body. We put recommendations, and we did put these recommendations to the member states. Now it's up to the member states to implement them and take on political decisions to implement these, to protect the rights of the Palestinian people. Thank you.
شكرا. باختصار لأنه الوقت عندنا 5 دقائق فقط. تفضلوا.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Chang Nok So. I'm a member of Human Rights Council Advisory Committee, who is in charge of writing the regional human rights mechanisms in the committee. So I will make a presentation about my report in the next session. My question is about the relationship between Arab Committee for Human Rights and OIC, because I believe all the member states of Arab Committee are members of OIC, and I know you have different mandates, but I just wonder how you closely work. If you have regular meetings or sharing information, etc. So it should be great to know. Thank you.
اسمحي لي كان قبلكم تفضل باختصار من فضلك. تفضل. تفضل.
الله أبو سيف من موريتانيا. سؤالي موجه لممثل المحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان. قال في مداخلته أنهم في بعض الأحيان يستأنسون ببعض أحكام المحكمة الإفريقية. هل يشكل ذلك اعترافا بمدى تطور هذه المحكمة؟ وهل إذا كان يستحضر المواضيع التي تتعلق بتلك المسائل التي تم الاستئناس بها أو الحالات التي استأنسوا بها، إذا كان يتذكر أو يستحضر أحد ذلك المواضيع. هنالك سؤال موجه لممثل الهيئة الدائمة المستقلة لحقوق الإنسان التابعة لمؤتمر التعاون الإسلامي، تتعلق بالتحفظات. التحفظات حقيقة تطرح إحراج كبير للمسلمين والدول الإسلامية، ذلك لأنها تنطلق من خلفية واحدة ولكنها تتباين فيما يتعلق بتحفظاتها على الاتفاقيات الدولية لحقوق الإنسان، مما يشكل إحراجا كثيرا لنا، بحيث أن البعض أصبح يتهمنا بأننا إسلامات بدل إسلام. هل هنالك جهود تسهر عليها الهيئة لتوحيد التحفظات ومراجعتها حتى نتفق على التحفظ؟ وإذا شاء أعطي مثلا جل الدول الإسلامية تتحفظ على المادة 2 من اتفاقية السيداو، في حين أن بلد كبلدي يتحفظ على المادتين 14 و16 فقط. هنالك مسألة أخرى، متى نرى وثيقة إسلامية كالميثاق العربي لحقوق الإنسان كالوثائق الإقليمية الأخرى؟ هنالك إعلانان، إعلان جاكرتا وإعلان القاهرة، لكن آن الأوان. وهل هنالك خطوات جدية لإبراز هذه الوثيقة الإسلامية؟ السلام عليكم.
طيب، نشكر أولا جميع المتدخلين. السؤال موجه لممثل المحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان، وفي نفس الوقت أتي ببعض الملاحظات بالنسبة للجنة الإفريقية لحقوق الإنسان. لما طرح السؤال هل كانت اللجنة الإفريقية لحقوق الإنسان تشير إلى الاجتهاد القضائي للمحكمة الأوروبية؟ نعم، في عدة قضايا قامت اللجنة الإفريقية بالإشارة إلى اجتهاد القضائي للمحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان. بالنسبة للسؤال، فهناك بعض الانتقادات وجهت إلى المحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان، ومن بين هذه الانتقادات يقال بأن المحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان أصبحت حكومة القضاة، باللغة الفرنسية gouvernement des juges، حكومة القضاة. وهذه الانتقادات وهذه الصفة جاءت في إطار بعض العلاقات المتوترة ما بين بعض الدول الاتحاد الأوروبي والمحكمة الأوروبية بالنسبة لبعض القضايا. فالسؤال، هل هذه الصفة لها يعني حقائق؟ هل هي موضوعية أم لا؟ شكرا.
Well, thank you both for your questions, which in some respect are related, and I'll tell you why. The first question was whether the court in Strasbourg makes use of references to other courts and I would say to other legal instruments in general. And the answer is yes, and it does it extensively. In a case of 1978 called Tyre versus the United Kingdom, which was about corporal punishment of young people in British schools, the court decided that the European Convention on Human Rights was, I quote, a living instrument to be interpreted in light of present time conditions. So it's something which evolves in time. It was written more than actually 60 years ago, and it evolves. Things like the internet didn't exist at the time. Things like mass surveillance of phone communications didn't exist at the time. GPS didn't exist at the time. The terrorism was a totally different animal at the time. It was mainly European, mainly political. So the society evolves. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, nobody was talking about same-sex marriage, for instance, which is a big thing now in Europe. What happens is that the judges of the court will have to interpret a piece of paper with rules written on it, which is the convention. How do they do it? Whenever there is no case law on one particular issue, because the issue is new, think about the progress of science, things that could be done, that can be done today in medicine and could not be done 50, 60 years ago, which open a whole series of legal issues. How do they do that? Well, of course, a judge in Strasbourg decides a case on the basis of its own or her own judgment, nothing else. How is that judgment, how is that opinion formed? When there is a previous case law, obviously the judge tends to be consistent with previous case law. When there is no previous case law because the issue is brand new, or maybe sometimes you have to change the existing case law because it's not adapted anymore to present day conditions, then the court looks at what's done in other jurisdictions, that is, other international jurisdictions, the Court of Justice of the European Union, which is based in Luxembourg, the International Court of Justice, the Inter-American Court, the African courts. It looks at international law, hard and soft law, which includes documents or instruments of the OSCE. It also looks at national law. So we do a lot of comparative law studies, and my department, the department that I'm heading, is in charge of that at the court. We do for most Grand Chamber cases, which are the most important cases, the most complex, the newest cases, we almost systematically do comparative law reports, which cover sometimes the 47 member states of the Council of Europe, sometimes less. Many times we extend these studies to other jurisdictions, the United States, some African jurisdictions, I mean national states. I mentioned South Africa this morning. I have lawyers on the basis of some exchange programs from China, from the United States, from Canada. I have today an Egyptian lawyer from the Egyptian Council of State who's doing an internship in my division because he's a student at the ENA, l'École Nationale d'Administration in France. So we use these resources to include comparative law in the court's judgment. That relates to the second questions about the so-called government of judges. It is a criticism indeed that has been consistently made to the court. You have 47 judges who are elected, and I come to your question of this morning about how they are elected. 47 judges, one representing each of the 47 member states. They are elected by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, which is composed of delegations from all the parliament of the 47 member states, on the basis of a list of 3 names provided by the government in question. That list of 3 names is firstly screened by a special independent panel to check whether the candidates do have the technical, legal, judicial experience to be able to sit at the court. Once they are elected, they serve a 9 years non-renewable term, but they sit in their own capacity. They do not represent the state, so they are totally independent. And of course, since the convention is a living instrument that needs to be interpreted in the light of present-day conditions, they have some significant margin in the way they interpret the convention. And that's why, for instance, the interpretation of Article 3 of the convention, which prohibits torture and inhuman and degrading treatment, has been interpreted as preventing the expulsion of aliens to countries where they could risk treatment contrary to this Article 3. So in some respect, and especially on the migration issue, there is certainly criticism of this side. I am not commenting on that, of course. I can only tell you that there is an evolving interpretation of the convention. Thank you.
شكرا. إذن آخر سؤال، تفضلي. آخر سؤال.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أنا حضرت الاجتماع ممثلة عن معالي السفيرة هيفاء أبو غزالة رئيسة قطاع الإعلام في جامعة الدول العربية، لكن مداخلتي ستكون بناء على عملي السابق في قطاع الشؤون القانونية كمسؤولة ملف التطوير في جامعة الدول العربية، الذي تضمن إنشاء محكمة حقوق الإنسان العربية. في خلال عملي بدأنا في موضوع محكمة حقوق الإنسان العربية من خلال مبادرة من مملكة البحرين، ليست مبادرة من المجتمع المدني أو من الأمانة العامة، كانت مبادرة من دولة من دول الأعضاء. هذا يعكس اهتمام الدول الأعضاء بإنشاء مثل هذه المحكمة. تبع هذه المبادرة اهتمام كبير من الجامعة تمثل في عقد العديد من المؤتمرات وورش العمل ولجان الخبراء التي اطلعت على مسألة إعداد النظام الأساسي الخاص بهذه المحكمة. موضوع النظام الأساسي، تأخر إعداد هذا النظام الأساسي كان في مصلحة جامعة الدول العربية أو في مصلحة شعوب جامعة الدول العربية، لأنه استتبع أن استفادت الدول العربية في إطار إعدادها لهذا النظام الأساسي من التجارب السابقة لباقي الآليات الإقليمية الدولية التي تعنى بحقوق الإنسان، خاصة الآليات القضائية. فمثلا استفادت الجامعة من التطور الذي حدث بالنسبة للمحكمة الأفريقية لحقوق الإنسان فيما يتعلق بإعداد بروتوكول اختياري ثاني يتضمن فكرة دمج المحكمة الأفريقية لحقوق الإنسان مع محكمة العدل الأفريقية. طلعت الدول على هذا الموضوع باهتمام بالغ وناقشته في إطار مناقشة النظام الأساسي لمحكمة حقوق الإنسان، وارتأت ألا تدمج الاثنين رغبة منها في التسريع بصدور النظام الأساسي لمحكمة حقوق الإنسان، حيث تفضل الدول الأعضاء في مسائل الأخرى التي تتعلق باختصاص محكمة العدل العربية نظرها على المستوى الدبلوماسي أكثر هذه النوع من الخلافات. هذا يدل على اهتمام الدول العربية بإنشاء المحكمة وسرعة نفاذ النظام الأساسي. مسألة أخرى من مسائل استفادة جامعة الدول العربية في موضوع التأخر في إنشاء النظام الأساسي كان فيما يتعلق بمحكمة الأوروبية لحقوق الإنسان. لاحظت الدول الكم الأعداد الكبيرة للقضايا المرفوعة، الدعاوى المرفوعة لدى هذه المحكمة، وارتأت أن موضوع أن يكون تقديم طلبات نظر الدعاوى بشكل فردي من الأفراد أن يكون في مرحلة لاحقة، ألا يصدر النظام الأساسي وهو يجيز للأفراد تقديم دعاوى للمحكمة لتجنب العدد الكبير في المرحلة الأولى لعمل المحكمة. فيما يتعلق بالتضارب في الاختصاص بين الأنظمة القضائية شبه الإقليمية في الإطار الإفريقي، نعلم أن عدد من أعضاء جامعة الدول العربية هم أعضاء في الاتحاد الإفريقي أيضا. راعى النظام الأساسي لمحكمة حقوق الإنسان هذه النقطة عن طريق أنها نصت بشكل واضح في شروط رفع الدعوة أمام المحكمة ألا يكون سبق رفعها أمام أي من المحاكم الإقليمية أو الدولية الأخرى. فيما يتعلق بأسباب تأخر الدول، طبعا أنا ما لدي من أسباب يأتي من أني عملت في هذا الإطار، وكان بعد صدور النظام الأساسي لمحكمة حقوق الإنسان كان لقطاع الشؤون القانونية أن بادر بإرسال مذكرة لتدعو الدول على التصديق على هذا النظام. بالفعل لم تصادق سوى المملكة العربية السعودية حتى الآن، إلى أن عدد من الدول العربية الأعضاء الأخرى أفادت بأنها في طريقها للمصادقة على هذا النظام الأساسي. لا يمكن إغفال التغيرات التي تحدث في الأجهزة التشريعية في الدول العربية، فكثير من البرلمانات في الدول العربية توقف وكثير منها حل، فهذه كلها مسائل تؤثر على ليس فقط التصديق على النظام الأساسي لمحكمة حقوق الإنسان، وإنما مواثيق إقليمية ودولية أخرى.
شكرا على هذا التفسير سيدة الفاضلة. قبل أن أرفع هذه الجلسة بودي أن أناقض ما جاء به زميلي من اللجنة الإفريقية لحقوق الإنسان والشعوب لما قارن وفيما يخص تنفيذ الأحكام أو التوصيات، مادام رانا في موضوع المحاكم والتوصيات، لما قارن ما بين القضاء العادي أو الأحكام العادية والتوصيات أو الأحكام النابعة عن إما اللجان الخاصة بحقوق الإنسان، إما من قبل المحكمة الإفريقية، لأنه حقوق الإنسان تمس الشخص الفرد في يومه في كل جوانب وفي يومه في كل يوم منه. وبالتالي ونظرا لتجربتي كقضية منذ أكثر من 40 سنة، فالحكم الذي لم يتم تنفيذه فهو ليس حكم، فهو يمشي إلى الأرشيف، ونفس الشيء من أجل التوصيات النابعة عن اللجان. وبالتالي وكون نحن هنا كلنا مهتمين بهذه المسألة، كلنا نفكر في الميكانيزمات أو الآليات من أجل إلزام كل دولة لتنفيذ ما تم قراره. نشكركم على حسن الإصغاء، ولدينا استراحة لمدة 10 دقائق ونستأنف من أجل الجلسة الثالثة، وربما أعلنت برفع هذه الجلسة. شكرا مرة أخرى.